And for more now on the ceasefire agreement and what this means for children and families in particular, let's bring in UNICEF spokesperson Joe English. Joe, thank you for being with us. With this ceasefire in place, tell us what communication is like with Israeli officials to surge more aid into the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, really good to be with you, Janae, and especially, with finally some good news. Look, first and foremost, let me say, the children that we've been speaking to, the parents that we've been speaking to, their response to this is far more important, far more powerful than mine. And we've been speaking to children like 13-year-old Rasha, and after 2 years of war, where every day has just been about survival, there is hope. There is optimism. Rasha told us that one of the things she wants to do now that there is a ceasefire in place is go and visit her cousins. And that sounds like a normal story you'd hear from a kid anywhere. But then she explained that she wanted to go and visit her cousins in the cemetery. And that is a reminder of the toll that this war has taken on children and on families. But now, we know that families are looking forward. They're optimistic. Children are talking about getting back into school after 2 years. There are families in Israel who are finally going to be reunited, children who are going to be reunited with their fathers. And so it is a day of hope. But now for us, the humanitarians, our job begins now, because we are doing everything that we can to scale in aid as much as possible. We have a 60-day plan, and we're going to do as much as we can to reach children and families where they are.
Joe, that story that you shared about the little girl saying that she wants to see her cousins and then adding that she wants to see her cousins in the cemetery really paints the picture of what the emotional toll and what so many of these families have been through. Ian Panel just a second ago talked about a young girl that we'd profiled just days ago who died this morning of starvation. How much more aid has been brought in? We know it's so desperately needed. And what do you wish to see in the coming days and weeks?
Indeed, and I think that's a really critical point, is that the ceasefire, we are so thankful that has come into force, and that obviously reduces the risks to children in terms of bombardments and violence, but the risk of famine, the risk of disease, the risk of unexploded ordnance, this continues. And just imagine being a parent and your child dying the day after a ceasefire comes into effect. There is almost no greater torture. And so we are doing everything we can. We've got trucks moving, bringing in nutrition supplies, bringing in, water and sanitation, bringing in shelter. Winter now is approaching, and we know that last year we saw babies, very young infants dying because of the cold and the lack of adequate shelter. So we are scaling up. We need to get back up to hundreds and hundreds of trucks going in every day so that we can meet the need, because it is absolutely enormous.
Yeah, because not only the food, the water, the supplies, but as you were talking about, fuels in high demand, so many dwellings that are no longer habitable. But Joe, for so many displaced Palestinians that are returning to the territory, most will find, as we just talked about, their homes and neighborhoods destroyed. Talk about the psychological impact that they already have experienced, that they still will experience returning to what's left of their home, and what's being done to help them in that regard.
Yeah, it is huge. And that is going to be a major focus for UNICEF, for the UN, for NGOs, is providing that psychosocial support. We do this for kids all around the world when they've been through earthquakes or hurricanes or war. We've worked with children who've been part of war as child soldiers. And we know that with the right psychosocial support and that safe environment where kids can just be children again, they can recover. But it is not a short process. It takes many months, sometimes years of that support. So that's part of what we're going to be doing. But also it's getting kids back into school. We're going to be setting up temporary learning environments so that we can make sure that kids are able to, rebuild their lives. It's absolutely critical.
So much rebuilding to still be done. Joe English, we appreciate you and the work you're doing, and thanks for being here to talk to us about it today.
Thanks so much, Janae.